Okay, we have coming up next our esteemed Tasha Dixon, LMFT, who is the facilitator for our Kick-Ash um, groups that we run with the project. And tell us a little bit more about yourself, Tasha, as you're getting started in the group. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. So I am going to be talking to you all today about helping others. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I am the behavioral health specialist on the TRDRPP project in Los Angeles that's going on now. And within that project, one of my roles, my main role, is to help the different sites kind of run a cognitive behavioral therapy group directly specified smoking cessation. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about helping others. And I am going to go through the curriculum a little bit so you can get a chance to see what it's like. I'm going to start with the disclaimer. I kind of tend to talk us. This is a presentation that is hours long that I'm condensing for you. So give me, go ahead and type in your questions in the chat as I've been doing. And then I'll try to leave some room at the end for questions as well. And yeah, so I'm going to share. Anyway, so helping people quit is what we're going to talk about today in regards to smoking cessation. And we're going to get a little bit more interpersonal because we're talking about those of us who are really working with people who want to quit and people who aren't sure that they want to quit, but it's possible. And one of the things why we help people quit is to help them improve quality of life, to increase healthy years of life, and to improve the effect of medications for mental health problems, decrease social isolation, save money by not buying cigarettes, and quitting smoking is a right and is important for recovery. Now, these are just a few reasons why we help people quit, but I want to tap into more of us as the helpers because we have to come into something within ourselves as to why we help people quit. Is it just your job and that's what you've been assigned to do? Is there some type of connection that you have with smokers or cigarettes or anything within your life that leads you to this? I think that's important to tap into so that you hold on to your motivation in helping people, because helping people quit is one of the hardest things there is. Quitting is one of the hardest things there is to do. And it's not something that we can guarantee. And it's not something we want to tell people like, yeah, we're going to help you quit and you're going to do this. It's a process to help people quit. People quit multiple times and go back to smoking and using tobacco products. And so I want you to understand how much of a journey it is. So being in touch with yourself as a helper is going to be important because it's not for you to become unmotivated or withdrawn from your clients when you don't see the success they want to see, but just so that you can also reassure them that this is a journey. And so looking at these reasons why we do what we do is important. And these are just a few of the reasons. So again, like I talked about, it's a tobacco-free journey. Understanding, and this is for helpers, understanding your own experience. And so I'm going to do a little share of my experience. When I started this project, I didn't think I had any experience or any type of, not necessarily experience, but not any type of connection to smoking. And it was within this position and it was within the trainings that I received and working with people that I realized, wait a minute, my mom smoked my whole life. And it's been a journey. I could see her journey through this journey that I'm working in and seeing how, the level of support from family, how we would say like, oh, it smells, or even as adults, we're cautious about taking our purse in her home because it would smell like any gift she gave us smell like smoke, and actually making those comments, but also remembering when I was young, all the processes that she went through to try to quit. She tried NRT, she tried patches, she tried a lot of things that just she wasn't able to be successful in, but also just knowing that this was a journey for her. I lost my mom 3 years ago to cancer, and she smoked up until diagnosis, a little bit even after diagnosis. I think she quit when she lost taste due to chemo and other things. But again, processing and understanding what your journey is, what your connection that you can make. And it doesn't have to be super personal as such, but it can be with a client that you've had before, something that touches you and motivates you to want to do this work is really important. One of the things I want to start with and say is that the significance of change is through combined treatment. It works the best. It's something that I want to put out there, because what I'm going to talk to you today about is one form of treatment, but there are multiple forms of treatment. There's NRTs, there's group, there's individual therapy, there's support groups, there are hotlines, there are just different peer groups that people can join or people can come along with on this journey. But I am going to talk to you about group treatment. So group counseling, this is just one part of the change, like I mentioned. What I like about it and what I think I've seen to be successful in it is that it's a specified structured counseling group for smoking cessation and tobacco use. So it's specified for smoking cessation. There are a lot of groups out there that can address anxiety and depression. There are a lot of support groups. There are substance abuse groups. But to have a group specified to smoking cessation is something that I think our smokers and our tobacco users could benefit from, because we're just targeting that and helping them see themselves in that. And then one thing too, for me, that's been successful is utilizing a cognitive behavioral approach to evoke the change. And we're going to get really deep into that soon. So one of the ways that we're doing it within the TRDRP in Los Angeles is we are providing Kick-Ash, which is a cognitive behavioral approach for smoking cessation groups. This is the curriculum that we use. And it is something that really helps the clients to really focus in on themselves and really see themselves as non-smokers and help them along this journey to quitting. I'll tell you a little bit about it up front. It is a 6-week group counseling session. Anyone who is trained at Kick-Ash can run these groups. You don't have to be a therapist. There's no credential you need in order to run certain groups. So I want you to think of that too, especially for your own facilities. If you want to create your own curriculum or you want to implement something similar, that you want to make it where it doesn't put limitations on who can provide the service. Because if people are willing to help others quit, we want them to be able to do that. Also, so it's a 6-week open group. What open group means is that anyone is allowed at any time in the group. So there's 6 sessions, but they don't bleed over into each other necessarily. So if someone starts session 3, then that's fine. They can start in session 3 and loop back around to catch sessions 1 and 2. Also, what it means about open group is that if someone who is on this journey complete the 6 weeks, but they've had a decline in their smoking and haven't quit completely, they can come back around to repeat the groups. And the way that the curriculum, as you will see, is set up, that for the facilitator is to change the different activities that they do or to select specific activities that they do. So if they loop back around and have repeated people, they can do other activities as well. So group dynamics, the purpose of the group is to help people make change in their tobacco use. The wording is very important. The purpose isn't to help people quit, but it's to help them along their quit journey. They may not stop quitting after 6 weeks. They may not want to repeat, but we are equipped to give them tools that they can lean on even after the 6 weeks on this process of quitting. They can repeat them. They are going to learn a lot about themselves in their smoking journey so that quitting doesn't have to end at the 6 weeks or even knowing how to. The content is important. The content is, again, cognitive behavioral, true and form, very, not necessarily basic, but it really hones into thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and their levels of control over all of that. And we're giving them the tools to recognize those levels of control so that they can put them in place to help them on their quit journey. And then again, I'm going to repeat this multiple times, even when I bring up the curriculum, it is a journey. Again, we want them to understand that it's a journey as well. We don't want to make promises that they'll quit, and we want to be patient with their journey, and we want them to be patient with their journey so that they don't feel like failures when change isn't as grand. And then the outcome. We're looking for outcomes such as maybe someone at the end of the 6 weeks has gone from 10 cigarettes a day to 6. Maybe someone has quit completely. Maybe someone has realized that they were smoking, and never knew how much they smoked, but they were able to track it along the way and say, wow, like I know how much I smoke now. I'm ready to start making a decrease in that. So just some type of self-awareness about their tobacco use is going to be very important. Is what we're looking for in outcome. Some type of change in that. Whether it's mindset change, whether it's actual physical change of stopping or decreasing, we're just looking for change. All of that is progress. So outcomes thus far that we've seen an increase in level of support that people get from these groups, and support from the facilitator, as well as support from, when we're in group dynamics, from each other. We've seen a reduction in tobacco use, and we've also seen people who have quit completely. Now, the people who have quit completely, there is no, they may have repeated the groups. They may have had the groups done in a different way than just the groups. This is designed as a group, but when COVID came around, we kind of made it more user-friendly to do on a one-on-one basis, phone call basis. We've made it for a virtual group. We've made it, and it's still an in-person group. So I don't know what the percentage is of how the person received this information that led them to quit. So, but they have received the kick-ash services. So there's some barriers to implementation. Recruitment, trying to get people to come to your groups, kind of finding out who those people are, referral processes, things like that is always going to be part of you running groups. It's going to be something that never ends. You want to keep people lined up to come to groups. Again, it's an open group. People can enter at any time. So the referral process that you use and the recruitment that you do to get people to your groups it doesn't end. That goes ongoing, and people can be invited in and join at any time. Consistency is important. If you're running 6 weeks and you want to loop back around for the next 6 weeks, because they don't have to ever end, you can give yourself a break. You can do 6 weeks, take a week or two off, and come back and do 6 weeks, take a week or two off, however you feel like it's comfortable for you and your facility. But being consistent as a facilitator is super important, that you are showing up regularly for them. So if 2 people come to your group, you're running a group. If 1 person comes to your group, you're running a group. Now, if 8 or 9 or 10 people come to your group, you're running the group the same. So being consistent in how you're doing it, it doesn't matter how many are there, what's there, you showing up in your consistency is going to help your clients want to be consistent in their change. And COVID-19 still is a barrier. Things have changed, things have opened up. But there are still people with anxiety and fear surrounding COVID-19, and again, getting them into group, getting them the buy-in. Another thing with COVID-19, what we saw was people were more shut in and at home. What is there to do but smoke? So kind of playing on behavioral things and making more behavioral change. Know your audience, know who you're serving in this process so that you can tailor the curriculum to them specifically to really help them. So behind the scenes, there's lots of training that we do here in LA County. So one of the trainings, we provide the kick-ass training to facilitators of LA County sites, clinics. We started off doing this monthly, then we went to every other month, then we went to quarterly as time progressed. Also providing refresher trainings, kind of refreshing any changes made to the curriculum or any just refreshers that the facilitators may need or questions that they have, providing that support to them and making sure that they're well-versed in learning the material. And then recruitment, again, that's something that's always in the works. Recruitment, referral processes, getting clients to buy into that change and want to quit and come into the groups. And then ongoing support. My role is providing ongoing support to facilitators that we train. And ongoing support is through multiple emails. Any questions you have, I can answer. Meeting with facilitators regularly, talking with facilitators regularly, just to make sure that I can be of any kind of support that they need. And I will tell you, a lot of the support I'm providing is in recruitment and referral process, and buy-in and getting people to come into the groups and making the groups well known at your facility and site. So that's it for my slides. What I'm going to do now is open up the actual curriculum and quickly go through it so that you can see what it looks like, see how it's set up in case you want to create your own curriculum and implement something similar. So this is the Kick-Ass Facilitators Guide manual. It's the actual manual that I train. It's the actual manual that our facilitators within LA County are using to provide this service. And again, it's a cognitive behavioral approach for smoking cessation groups. So some of the things, I'm going to be breezing through it, so you're not going to get every single page of this because it's pretty lengthy, but I do want to highlight some of the important things that I think are helpful. So this is just a session overview. It has, for the facilitator, what is going on in session 1, and these are the different activities. Now, these are 1-hour groups. Now, there are 4, 5, 6 or 7 activities in session 1. Now, remember when I said that when you loop back around, you can choose other things. All of these are not to be used in the first session. It is up to the facilitator of how they want to start. There are some activities in each group that are deemed to be mandatory or highly suggested that you actually do. But some of these you can go choose which one you want to do, and some of them overlap as far as what they're covering. And I did that because I want the facilitators to be to make it user-friendly for them, and to also be very comfortable in what they choose to give. And making that change, being able to pick and choose when they loop back around, again, there's other things to pick and choose. So it doesn't get boring, it doesn't get mundane, and it doesn't get to the point where it's just this you as a robot repetitively doing this. You're actually engaging and involved as well when you have to make these choices. And so you can see that in every session, there are multiple activities and things to do. And then we move to the session overview. And this, again, is just for the facilitators, just what participants will gain from each session. And that's just written out for you to be able to get an idea, which is also helpful for you in choosing the activities that you decide to choose. But it is structured in a way that I will talk about which one of those are mandatory or that you should do. Each session also has an introduction. So again, it's just introducing the facilitators through what they're going to be giving them in the session. One thing that I want to point out, and I'll point out as we go through each session, is the name of the sessions. So session 1 is Living Tobacco Free, a dream for a lifetime. It is called this because it's literally a visualization or a dream where we take the clients through visualizing themselves as smoke-free. This is important because if they can visualize themselves as smoke-free, it makes a goal, it makes that dream something very motivating to want to attain. So we take them through different exercises and seeing themselves as smoke-free. One of the things that I say, again, this is a group overview and introductions for activity 1, it is group overview. This is something that's mandatory that I think you should do. It's your first group. You want them to introduce themselves. You want to do a group overview and explain why we're here, what we're doing. And again, the instructions to the facilitators is really spelled out and gives them specific instructions of what to say, even on some of the activity 2, establishing group rules. I highly suggest you establish group rules in that first group because you really want the participants to, the way that it's spelled out here in the instructions is that you engage your participants in there. So you can come as a facilitator with already group rules that you want to have, but I highly suggest that you allow them to create group rules as well. Again, very basic group content, group things that are covered, but I wanted to spell this out because remember what I said earlier is that anyone can run these groups. Even if you've never run a group before, this curriculum is written to help you figure that out and how to do it, and so that you feel confident in doing it. I offered an activity here called the group contract, which I have used multiple times and it works really well. Basically, it's a paper where there's 3 questions. How will you want to be treated by the leader of the group? How would you want to be treated by the other participants? And how will you treat others in the group? And then we create a list of all the answers that everyone in the group has put up. And we go by that. And that's the binding contract of what our rules are. And then this is just a form that they get to be able to answer those questions. Self-visualization activity. This one is where we're really having them close their eyes, getting comfortable in their seat, and really visualize them as smoke-free, themselves as smoke-free. Again, the instructions to the participants that the facilitator will be given is written to where if you get everyone to close your eyes, all you have to do is read this. And you're reading through this. This is the actual visualization that you will walk through. And it's having them ask questions like, how would you feel if you didn't use tobacco? How would your life be different? And you're walking through asking these questions for them to answer while they're in their visualization. Now, the purpose of this is so that they can get more in tune of what that life looks like or could look like for them. At the end, and you have them open their eyes and come back into the group, then you want to open up a discussion of what came up for people and have people share at that point of how they saw themselves as smoke-free and what that life looks like. Here's a dear future self. Again, I'm not going to go through every activity, but this is just them writing a letter to their future selves, their future smoke-free selves. If you choose to do this, then you're going to hold on to the letter as a facilitator. If you're virtual, you're going to ask them to put it away somewhere, have them tell you where they put it so you can write that down in case they forget, because in session 6, we're going to open up those letters and we're going to see where we are then from now. And this is where they will write it on. Now, this is one that I highly suggest that you do because the participants all love this activity. It is the health fact sheet and information. And basically what it is talking about the changes that happen from 20 to 30 minutes in the body all the way around to 15 years if they stop smoking. So quitting smoking within 20, 30 minutes, already your blood pressure drops. Things happen in your body for your health. And this is an outline of showing them what are the different changes. And the participants really get a lot from that because it helps them put a purpose to why am I doing this? Core beliefs, just walking through tracking core beliefs, what they believe about themselves as smokers. Again, asking questions about how you see yourself now in present day and how you see yourself in the ideal you smoke-free. So kind of similar to the visualization, but it's a more open dialogue and open conversation that you have with them. And then notes for the facilitator to jot down. So then we move into section 2. Session 2, again, another introduction for the facilitators. The name of this is called Embarking on a Tobacco-Free Journey. The first session was Dream of a Lifetime, envisioning themselves on this journey. And now we're about to embark on it. We're about to start this process. So from session 2 on, one of the things that is important is goal setting. There's an identifying triggers activity there for the facilitators, and there's this explicit information about goal setting, because this is going to be important for every session moving forward. We really want to teach our participants how to set goals in their smoke-free life, for their smoke-free life, to help them attain. And we want them to be attainable week by week, and we want them to be something starting off small, and we can add to that. And so in helping people figure out where they are, we give them this tobacco-free starting points. Do you want to set a quit date? Do you just want to reduce? Do you want to track your tobacco use? Do you need to increase support? So we are not pushing them to say, I want to quit. We're pushing them to set goals that make sense for them where they are. And we review this every week so new goals can be created. There's some blank spaces for them to fill in for themselves. more information on goal setting. Here are the actual goals and how we want to do it. Now, we talked about them creating goals for their smoke-free self. When we're making goals, we want them to create 3 goals: a self-care goal, a personal goal, and a smoking cessation goal. Because in this process of on the journey of quitting, they need to take care of themselves in different ways too, so that it helps support the quit. So creating goals, self-care goal could look like taking better care of myself, putting forth actions that allow me to be kind to myself. Personal goals could be financial health, fitness, career, education, wherever they are in their life in that. And then a quit attempt or reduction in use of whatever their smoking cessation goal. We have them write those 3 overall goals that they come up with, and they're very broad. They're not broken down at all. And we have them write them here. And this is what they get. They get this, they get to write it down here. And then the 5-week goal plan is, what do they need in order to meet these big goals? Because when they actually set the goals, this is what it looks like. Every week, they will write the big goal down, and then they'll break it down for the week, what they can do towards their self-care goal. So we broke down the self-care goal to improve my overall emotional well-being by paying more attention to myself. What they can do this week is meditate in quiet time at least 2 times this week, or put myself first at least 3 times this week. A personal goal is to be healthier and take better care of my body. This week only, we're going to drink 4 glasses of water at least 3 days a week. So we're not pushing them even in these goals to be overly grand that they can't meet them. Do yoga 4 times this week. Take a walk 3 times this week. This could also just say 1 time this week. And then their smoking cessation would be more aware of the thoughts and feelings before and after smoking, keeping track of that. So really slowly, we're taking them on a journey through their goal setting. And then they get this every session and write their goals out, and then write what they're going to do for it in the week. If they don't pass them, they can just repeat it the next week. If they do, they increase the frequency or move further along in that goal. So here's a cognitive triangle. We definitely want to discuss what this is for them for the next groups coming up. We know that our thoughts affect our behavior and our emotions, that they're all interlinked. And then we talk about how changing one of these can change all of these and change the pattern of how we operate in our day. And we give examples of what that looks like. And then there's another activity for coping strategies. This one I highly suggest that you do too. There are 3 basic coping strategies that I want to give them in this group up front, so that in the case they feel highly stressed through this journey, they at least have these 3 things starting off with being able to access. And it's just deep, slow breathing, deep muscle relaxation, and picturing a peaceful scene. And we teach them how to do those 3 things and how to access them and when to access them. Throughout this journey, we're giving them a ton of coping skills, but this is something up front in session 2 I highly suggest you give them, so that they don't feel like they have nothing when they start off. And then the notes for the facilitator. So session 3, now we're getting into the cognitive behavioral piece of it. We had dream of a lifetime, where we're envisioning being smoke-free. We had embarking on this, where we're teaching goal setting in a specific way and empowering them to meet goals and to go there. And now we're going into regulating thoughts. So the cognitive triangle, thoughts, behavior, and emotions, will take up the next 3 sessions. So right now we're doing regulating thoughts. And again, every group in the beginning taking 5-7 minutes to write their goals down, what they're going to do for the week, review if they made them or not, and then move right into it. So we have core beliefs, again, wanting them to understand what that means. This is for facilitators to kind of get, adjust to what it is for them, what are automatic thoughts, little definitions for immediate beliefs, things like that, so they can have the verbiage to be able to converse with their participants through this. We're going to teach them thought stopping. We're going to teach them worry time. And so worry time is something I use regularly. If a client has excessive worries, I have them spend some time, maybe 5 minutes, to write it all down, set an alarm with a noise, and sit there and worry about it. Just sit and worry on this list. And every time you do this list, rewrite it. And some people need to do this 2 or 3 times, depending on how excessive their worrying is. And then once they're done worrying about it, they go about their day. So that at lunchtime, or even during the middle of a work day,
they start worrying, they can retrain their brain to say, oh no, it's not worry time. You need to go over here until it is. So they're able to make that, rewire those neurotransmitters to have more control over their thoughts than they think they have upfront. And this is a process. This takes time to learn, but it's something that they can do. Reframing thoughts, we teach them how to do that. These are specific ways of reframing thoughts. One of the things that I say up front is to write down positive things about yourself, and write positive things about your life, because we can, once we write them down and get them there, this is something we can access whenever our thoughts get negative against us. So we now have this in front of us where we can actually pull from and think positive. We talk about mindset, going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. This is another activity. And then the notes for session 3. And then we have session 4, a tobacco-free journey, regulating feelings. So we did regulating thoughts. Now we're on regulating feelings. Again, the introduction for the facilitators, the goal sheet for the participants, and then we go right in. Immediately, I want to make sure participants understand their feelings and understand what they are. If you ask somebody like, how are you feeling? Oh, I had a bad day. Is that how they're feeling, or is that a thought? So we really want them to be able to access feelings. And so here's a feeling chart of different feelings. Usually if you do ask people how they're feeling, they say good, bad, or you get sad, happy, mad, the basic feelings that everyone can access. On purpose, I put things like disappointed, excited, guilty, something to help them dig a little bit deeper to really touch on how they're feeling or what's going on when they need to really be able to identify those feelings. And they're not the same. They're not the usual feelings, like understood. I feel valuable. I feel worthwhile. I feel relaxed. I feel hopeless. Good and bad, we want them to be able to identify feelings, because if we have to change any part of that cognitive behavioral triangle, they have to be aware of what the feelings are that they're experiencing. So I highly recommend that upfront. And then there's happy thoughts and pleasant activities. So with feelings, one of the things we talk about, reframing thoughts and stopping thoughts and having more control over thoughts. We can't really control our feelings. These are things, something happens and our feelings come upon us. So we have to then do something different in order to put ourselves in a different mood. So I combined happy thoughts and pleasant activities. So this is just a list of activities they can do: solve a puzzle, take a nap, work, but it also determines what the feeling that they are feeling in order to find the exact activity that meets that and will help change their mood. And we'll talk about that in behavior, I think, a little bit more. And then one way to do that, to get a grasp of how to access that, is have them write activities I enjoy and why they enjoy them. And the reason for this is because if they have the activity of planning a trip, because it gives me hope of a dream or something that I can do. So if they're feeling like alone, or if they're feeling bored, then they can go ahead and plan a trip, because it's going to then boost their mood into hopeful things like that. So if they understand what activities they already like and can put with it why they like it, then they'll be able to access the activities they need to do to change their mood. Session 4. No, we're on session 4, regulating feelings. So this is another activity. It's another visualization process. And again, the visualization is right here, word for word. Even if you don't get them to close their eyes, because they don't have to, everything is an invitation to participate. Then you can still read this word for word. And this is a visualization of kind of like their happy place, kind of visualizing a place that makes them feel good in. So again, one of those coping skills is accessing a peaceful place. And so this is what this is. So we have an activity called responding to feelings, talking about self-discipline and talking about how we act on feelings versus, really making sure we combine thought to feelings so that we aren't just acting on our feelings without thought. Like, we want to make sure we can have some depth self-discipline, that we can feel bad, but do something good, because the cognitive behavioral triangle will tell us if we feel bad, we're going to behave bad. So we want them to be able to access how much control they have over themselves and what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and what they're doing. Note section. Session 5, regulating behaviors. So again, this is the introduction for the facilitator, the goals for the week. And then we talk about trigger behaviors into alternative behaviors, identifying some trigger behaviors that they have related to smoking. What is happening around their smoking before, what happens after, what is triggering you into that. And so that we can identify some alternative behaviors you can do to those trigger behaviors. So this is a list that is mandatory to give and mandatory to show them because it's super helpful. It's a list of alternative behaviors, and I've broken it down by need. So if they have craving busters, like these are the craving busters, if they're craving tobacco strongly, they can engage in these different activities: floss and brush, whistle or hum, run in place, chew gum, frozen snack. They're all kind of helping with the craving that the mouth even has and the taste that they get from cigarettes. We're going to replace that with eating a tart candy, something of such. We want them to avoid isolation. These are things they can do to avoid isolation: give hugs, write a letter, call a parent, spend time with kids, call a friend, go volunteer somewhere, write a grateful list. Just coming out of their room and engaging with other people in the home could be helpful. If they need a distraction while they're at home, washing the car, cleaning the car, organize photos, plan a vacation, things like that. Keep hands and mind busy. The reason why I want to talk about keeping hands busy, if we have smokers, they are so used to this, smoking is something that becomes routine. So it's so used to just doing the routine of like, oh, it's time for my cigarette. Oh, it's time, So we want to keep the hands and mind busy by painting, knitting, getting a new hobby, taking photos, things like that. Be active, get out and about. If they need to do those things, these are all activities they can do. Embrace relaxation and treat yourself. I'm all about the self-care-ness, all about making sure that they see themselves and are taking care of themselves. Because we also know that smoking is highly related to anxiety or depression and things that, smoking soothes them. If they can find ways to soothe themselves in a healthy way, the more the better. And again, this is the cognitive triangle, because now we're going to bridge together everything, because now we're in session 5, regulating behaviors. So we talked about feelings, we talked about thoughts, feelings, and now we're in behavior. We just want to bring it back to them to be able to see what they've learned along the way. And this is a blank one to talk about in that present moment in group, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and then what are they doing? They actually showed up to group, but what led them to show up to group? What's the feeling and thought behind that? This is something I highly suggest as well, recognizing their behaviors really quickly. It's like, if I'm happy, the thought that I have is, this is great. And the somatic response. So this is teaching them about the somatic response that automatically happens. I'm probably walking around smiling, and a natural response is laughing and smoking. If I'm happy, I want to smoke. I'm laughing or having a good time, I can smoke. But then we want to teach them helpful behaviors like laughing, sharing good news with someone else. So we want to replace that smoking piece with something else. And you'll see in SAD, it's smoking and crying. I put crying as a helpful behavior because I'm all about the crying and tears. It's a release. But we want to engage in present activity. So we want to kind of help them see what's automatically happening in their bodies so that they can put in place a helpful behavior to make change. Okay, so now we have session 6. This is an important session. Again, the goals. This is our last session, and yes, we're giving them the goal sheet because we want to teach them how to continue making goals every week for themselves. Even though we're not going to go over these goals that they set this week because we're done unless they come back, they can continue this on their own. In session 6, it's called living the dream. So now we've done all the things, we've embarked, we visualize it. Now we're actually going to live the dream, take everything that we've learned and implement it here. And this is where we talk about lapse versus relapse. Relapse prevention is all session 6. Giving them all of the necessary prevention strategies that they need, giving them statistics of what is really tied into how a relapse happens so that they can put things in place to avoid them. And then on this, we have them write down their triggers to smoking and different situations that they smoke in. We have them write down their levels of supports that they have and their strengths, because this is important. When they start to feel these triggers, they go down here to leaning into their strengths and their supports to prevent that relapse. This is just giving them more resources like the hotline, the quit lines, things like that they can access if they again feel like they want to go back to smoking. And then this is where we review the My Dear Tobacco Self-Free letter that we wrote in session 1 and talk about it and see where their differences are. And then notes. Now this is set up to have a bonus session A and a bonus session B. I'm not going to go into those. Those are just in case, like people who have mastered it and continue doing the groups and how to utilize them as a help peer support in your group or things like that. One of them I will talk about is if someone has relapsed and returned to group and you know that they had already quit, then what do you do? No matter where you are, if you're in group 3 and you have a relapse participant coming back, you switch to group 6 because none of them are aligned to have to be in order. Once you get to sessions 3 and like the feelings, thoughts, behavior, and relapse prevention. And the relapse prevention session can be given at any given time. So if someone comes in and they've relapsed, then we can just go straight into session 6. And that is the Kick-Ash curriculum. I think I'm about over time, but I want to show you one more thing. So this is basically the workbook. Okay. So this is actually the participants guide workbook that they get. And in this workbook is all of those things that I talked about that we give them as handouts. And we also give them notes as well to be able to take notes in session in the groups. But everything that they need that we're talking to them about, how to do the goals, all the goal sheets, everything is given to them. And we repeat the goal sheets per session. So they already have the handouts ready for them. So that is my presentation. I hope it was helpful. I know it was super fast and I really breezed through that curriculum, but it's an intense, it's an in-depth curriculum. And when I train it to the page with interaction. So yeah, I had to combine all that in a small time. So if there's any questions.
Yeah, the main question that we get all the time is, when can I get the manual? When and where is it available?
Yeah,
so,
I know. I don't know how to answer that. I know.
Okay, Dr. Freeman. Yeah, we're winding down the study that we're working on, and we're waiting until we get the data in, because we have some treatment as usual sites as well as the sites that are actually getting this training from the manual, and there's a comparative piece in the research design. So it will be available. I have all of your emails, and I think that might be one thing that we can do is send a blast out when it is available. This is our last year, and we'll be stopping recruitment in the next couple of months, but the study actually goes until we wrap up everything in June, supposedly. So sometime between November and June, we'll be making it available. And I have your emails because you were on this training, so you'll be able to access it.
But
you want to talk about the training that we'll be doing for the LA County?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're submitting a grant with Kath.
No, this year, like finishing up this grant, we're going to start bringing in other LA County sites to be trained.
What he's talking about is the new grant we are providing Kick-Ash through that new grant as well. So that is an opportunity for other organizations and facilitators to kind of join, like sign up for that. And that's why I'll be offering that training across California versus just LA County. And that
but I mean, right now, as we're finishing up this grant, aren't we inviting the other sites in the next couple of months or so after we start recruitment to see the curriculum and how it works? Is that correct or no?
Yeah. Well, there's 3 sites that are treatment as usual that will join us. But I think we're gearing up for our next grant, which is going to be with Catherine from UCSF Leadership Center to expand the training. And part of that's going to be distributing the kick-ass training to those people as part of the their session. So we'll see about it. I think we do want to help everybody out and give them the manuals as best as we can.
Yes, it's in the pipeline, folks. So like I said, we have your information. So if you happen to change emails, let me know, because that's how we'll be notifying folks what's happening going forward with the new grant, new activities and all. Thank you, Tasha. Very informative as usual.
Yeah, great job, Tasha. Thank you so much.